this isn't recovery. This is our life. This isn't therapy. This is your marriage. Sometimes we can get lost in the words and the exercises and the kind of content of recovery. But in the end, your wife wants to know the truth, and she wants ownership. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of a story, but also what I would consider a pretty massive lesson. It changed the direction of my recovery, and it pretty significantly changed the direction of our marriage when my wife and I were trying to heal from this. And I've talked about this before, but never really this linearly. And I just shared this on one of our group calls. I have this one call that I do 3 times a month, and all the guys in my groups are invited to it. So normally, with my groups, they all just meet individually in their small groups of 10. But this one call that I do 3 times a month, everybody's invited to it. And I shared it on it yesterday, and one guy had made a massive impact with him and his wife. They actually had sex for the first time in a long time. And 2 other guys came on and shared, and they said that just made massive kind of headway on their shame and just kind of ownership of this whole thing. So I wanted to share it with all of you here on the podcast. So I'm going to give you a little backstory in terms of how I got to this point. So like all of you, I'm a high achiever in all areas of my life. My fitness goals, business goals, financial goals, vacation goals. Like many high achievers, I do everything big in my life. So when I got caught, and my wife discovered my behaviors, changing was of massive importance to me. I envisioned dying with this giant, growing and dying of old age with this woman. I mean, she truly is. My wife is truly everything I've ever dreamed of. Honestly, I mean that. And so I had to fix this thing. So I'm going to 12-step meetings. In the beginning, I was going to 3 a week. Then it eventually kind of went down to 2 a week. As you guys know, recovery burnout's a very real thing. But I had multiple CSATs, right? We had our couple CSAT. I had my CSAT. She had her CSAT. And I was signing up for all these, virtual intensives of, finding your why and different childhood trauma intensives. I was going to treatment, right? So went to treatment, went to usually 2 other like in-person intensives a year. So I'm doing all these things, right? And I got to be honest though, I find myself it was right around like month 11 after discovery. I shouldn't say that. Month 11 into recovery, because there was that beginning part's always trying to figure things out. But I was about 11 months into recovery. I wasn't really recovered. I wasn't doing any of the things, right? It wasn't like I had relapsed or anything like that. But I don't know. I didn't know how much had changed. There was a lot of the activities that I still kind of wanted to do, if I was completely honest, right? It wasn't like I didn't want to do them. I didn't want to destroy my marriage and get divorced, but did I not want to do some of those behaviors? I don't know. I think I still did. And I don't know if I was necessarily felt like I had my recovery figured out. I don't know if I really could confidently. I know I couldn't. My wife even asked me. She said, "Roland, how confident are you that you won't do these things again?" And my answer still at that time was, I don't know. I want to say that I won't, but I haven't really been tempted at a massive level. Like I don't know if I can confidently tell you that this isn't going to happen again. I wish I could tell you that, but I don't know. And so it was really frustrating to me because I think at least the impression that I got when I first got into recovery was that, oh, this is going to be the best thing ever. Recovery is going to be this awesome thing and you're going to change and your marriage is going to get better and all. And I got to be honest, 11 months in, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I feel changed. I don't even know if I feel like this is working. And that was when I made kind of a mental pivot. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today on this podcast. And maybe some of you have already made this pivot. I don't know. It was revolutionary to a lot of the guys in my groups. Maybe some of you listening won't find this a massive pivot, but I sure did. And like I said, it really changed the direction for my recovery and our marriage. I all of a sudden kind of started thinking about it differently. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of talking about all this stuff. I'm tired of I'm tired of my wife and I kind of rehearsing how this happened and if I'm changing and am I learning empathy and am I, I feel like I'm just in this washing machine of talking about it. And so finally I decided, you know what, I'm going to just start saying it how it is. I'm going to start recovering from my actual recovery. Like I'm going to actually start, like, rather than having other people, other experts, other professionals tell me what I need to do and what's wrong with me. I'm just going to like go figure out what's actually wrong with me. And so what I mean by this was, my wife finally, she asked, there's, as you guys know, for the betrayed partners listening to this and the men listening to this, it's not uncommon to get asked. The partner wants to know, like, I don't get how you could do this. Like, I still don't understand, like, why, like, if you love me so much, how did this happen? Right. And my old answer was, again, that prescribed answer of like, oh, I never, through my childhood, I never felt seen. I never felt like people cared about how I felt. And so then I created a double life to go get my needs met. And, that was, and then the variety of childhood trauma like answers. Right. But this time I answered different. You know what I told her? I said, I liked it. I liked it. And I thought I was going to get away with it. I liked the way that flirting with these women made me feel. I liked seeing if I could sleep with them. I liked it. That's why I did it. I felt good. I liked it. It was novel. Right. It was a novel sexual experience. It was taboo. It was against the rules. It was exciting. It was risky. I don't know. I liked doing it. I really did. I liked doing it. I mean, it got to the point where when I would go travel for business, it was a thing that I was pre-planning. I liked doing it and I really thought I was going to get away with it. Now I'm not in any way saying that that's okay. It's just, I found myself forcing myself to have an addiction. I found myself forcing this to be this big narrative from my childhood and all. And I'm not denying that my need for attention and validation didn't come from childhood, because it did. But here's the difference. Why did I do it? Because I liked it. It felt good. And I thought I was going to get away with it. Thought I could hide it. Thought I could do it forever. That's why it happened, right? I mean, obviously there's a why before that why. But in the end, my wife cares. She wants me to do the recovery work. She does want me to heal, right? And a lot of that is going back to your childhood and figuring out how this happened. But at the same time, you know what she really wants to know? She wants ownership. And what ownership was that's the truth. I was entitled. I thought I was above the rules. I thought that I was never going to get caught. And I don't know. I felt like I had the right to do this. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying that that's not completely delusional kind of process addiction thinking. But that is the truth. I mean, I walked around and I had no shame and no guilt from doing these behaviors. I walked around doing them and liking that I was doing them. And it was that ownership that changed two things. Let's first talk about the marriage. My wife, while she didn't like necessarily hearing that, right? My wife liked the idea that I was an addict, right? My wife, and not a cheater, right? My wife liked the idea that these were like compulsions that were out of my control. But the truth was, I don't know. I think I had more control about it than if I'm completely honest, I think I could have stopped. And you know how I know? Because when I got caught, I stopped and I haven't gone back to those things. I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for my marriage. I want my wife. I want to be an honest man. I don't want to be this liar. But the truth was when she asked me to stop, I stopped. And that's because I couldn't get away with it anymore. Right. And so it was this, as much as my wife, as much as it was nice to have it be this pathological addiction, in the end, there was something true about what I was saying. She just felt like I was being honest. She felt like, thank you for saying that. Like, thank you for admitting that. And, so it really kind of started changing the marriage rather than doing these nightly check-ins and really treating me like I was some sort of addict. And I was at any second I was going to go, sleep with a woman or look at some porn or masturbate compulsively. That just wasn't my thing. I know for some men, this story is gonna be different for you. For some men, you are addicted to these behaviors. You are compulsively masturbating, and you're gonna have to own that. But my point is, prior to that point, I was really kind of like feeding her sex addiction scripts that I had gotten from therapy or workbooks or intensives of like, oh, here's this pathology and all this. My parents lacked attunement and all that. And again, none of that stuff's not true because it is. Absolutely. But in the end, I'm a grown ass man. And I knew what I was doing. I can't sit here and say that I didn't know what I was doing. I knew. That's why I was hiding it. Right. And so it was just this ownership of like, of what I did and the fact that I just liked it. I was entitled to doing it and I thought I was going to get away with it. And really until I got caught, I was probably just going to keep doing it. Right. It was just that honesty of like, rather than doing the whole song and dance of like making this some, brain sickness, it was like, listen, this is just what happened. This is what I did. Like I can sugarcoat it. I can call it something else. I can make it all about trauma. But I mean, in the end, like if I'm going to say it bluntly, I felt entitled to be doing this stuff. I wanted to do it. I thought I was going to get away with it. I liked it. Truly. I did. I now realize now that I didn't really like it, right? My pathologies and egos and parts of me liked it. But in the end, I mean, I chose to do it. That's what I was doing. And in the end, why did I stop? Because I chose to stop, right? And it was just that ownership that really changed. She just appreciated the honesty. Right? Rather than always making this something else, it was just like, no, you know what? I did it. And I'm not proud. I'm not proud of that, right? And I hope that you can stay with me long enough for me to change. I hope that you have patience long enough and you don't divorce me before I can show you that there's actually there's a more authentic version of me that doesn't cheat, right? Now, so that's like the marital part, but I really want to talk about why. That was kind of a nice byproduct, saving the marriage. But I'll tell you what really changed for me was that type of ownership removed the shame. Because instead of having it be this problem that I had, right, this affliction, this disease, this addiction, it just turned into kind of like something that made sense. Like, I've always liked getting attention from women. Forever. Like that started in like middle school, that I was doing that. Even when I was in relationships, I was always flirting, right? It was never the attention of my girlfriends in high school was never enough. I always needed the attention from all the other girls, right? And that went on through college, right? Like, and again, did that come from childhood? Yes. I'm not saying that it didn't, but rather than having it be this pathological excuse which is what it kind of sounds like sometimes, it was just straight up like this. I just had this pattern. Like I just used women. Like that's just what I did. And then eventually, I never cheated. And then one day I cheated. And once I cheated, then I cheated some more and more and more and more. And it relieved the shame from me because rather than having it be this complex series of events of this problem that I had, it was just like, no, Roland, listen, this is what you did. You liked attention from women. Once I started cheating, that became sexual. I liked the combo. I liked their attention and I liked the novel sexual experience. It was fun. It was taboo. It was against the rules. It was exciting. It was, and I think too often in this field, we shame the behavior and act like you're a monster for wanting it. I'm sorry. Novel sexual experiences are exciting. They just are. And for a lot of high achieving men, breaking the rules, doing something bad, doing something you're not supposed to do, that adds to the excitement. It just does. And I'm not, my wife will probably listen to this episode and it will probably sting for her to hear me say all these things, but it's just the truth. That's just the truth. I can't, to sit around here and act like I'm like ashamed of what I've done. I am ashamed of it. I am ashamed of those actions, but to sit here and act like I'm some sort of monster for wanting to do those things. I'm sorry. All my friends in school were talking about that stuff. Every TV show, Superbad is a movie about two kids trying to get laid. Like this is just part of this male culture that we need to change. And if I'm going to sit here and say that I am like some delusional, bad person for wanting to do this, I'm sorry. When I was in middle school, I felt pretty damn normal. When I was in college, I felt pretty damn normal. And honestly, when I was going to the conferences and hanging out with all the guys at financial services conferences, they were all cheating too and going to strip clubs and talking about women and it's just the thing that was going on. It's not okay. It needs to change. It's very childish. It's very pathetic behavior. But at the same time, it's kind of what guys were doing. They were conquesting after women and eventually in their marriage, cheating and kind of doing really what they were doing in middle school and high school. Now as a full grown man, just lying and hiding it. Right. And so my point of all this was it relieved shame. And I know it sounds kind of weird. Like, why would that relieve shame? Like me owning that I was, I don't like to call myself an asshole because I don't think I am one. I think I'm a good person, just like everybody listening to this. I don't think there are bad people in this world. I think we're all just trying to do the best we can. Did I act like a selfish asshole? Sure. That I'll let somebody say that about me because I absolutely did. I absolutely acted like an entitled guy who looked for his pleasure and his joy. And I did not consider my wife and her feelings and really what this was going to do to her. My wife has said that to me. Like how did you think that, how could you just do this and think that this wasn't going to absolutely destroy me? And what the honest answer is to that? I didn't think about you. I didn't think about how you felt. I thought about me, my life, my pleasure, my joy, my novelty, and what I wanted to do when I went on that work trip, right? And that's the truth. That's not fun to hear, but the truth is I did not think about her. And I did not think about what would happen if she ever caught me. So as I'm listening to this, I hope the essence of what I'm sharing with you guys today made sense. I'm not, in no way am I saying that everything that y'all have done in recovery was a waste. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes we have to remember that this isn't recovery. This is our life. This isn't therapy. This is your marriage. Right? Like sometimes we can get lost in the words and the exercises and the kind of content of recovery. But in the end, your wife wants to know the truth and she wants ownership. And to me, it's the cure to shame as well. Just own where you've gotten, own what's happened, own what you did. And I think sometimes we pretend to be these scripts rather than actually just owning the facts of what actually happened. And I think it's refreshing for your wife to hear the ownership. And I think it's refreshing for you from a shame perspective to just look at this and say, yeah, I got to this place. And then yes, now do the recovery work. How did I get here? What happened? But I also don't think it needs to be super complex. I think sometimes we just get into middle school. All our friends are talking about getting into girls' pants. You get in high school, they're trying even harder to get in girls' pants. You go to college, they're trying really hard to get into girls' pants. And I think that that's just kind of the energy sometimes in male culture. And again, it's not okay. But at the same time, when it becomes normalized, when it becomes such an emphasis and a focus, we feel like we need to participate in that. And we feel like we're missing out on something. We feel like there's experiences that people are having that we need to have more of. And I think sometimes we just go after getting those experiences and we don't consider the lives of other people that we're going to hurt along the process and the women we're using for our own pleasure. And I think sometimes we just need to own it for the fact that it is. It's that's what happened. And rather than blaming it on trauma and blaming it on this and blaming it on that, those things are real. But in the end, you still did what I said. You still made these decisions. And you still knew what you were doing. And you chose to hide it, right? So basically two things can be true. I just want to make sure that we don't get lost in the nuances and excuses and patterns and all the sex addiction terminology. Just remember, back in the end of all of this, we're humans doing the best we can. And I think there's a level of ownership there that your wife will appreciate, and I think there's a level of ownership that you owe yourself in your recovery.